Are you expecting a tax refund back this year? Have you already gotten it? Well, stop. Before you go any further, I have 5 tips that I want to share with you on what you should do with that tax refund money, including starting the cash envelope system if you haven't done so already. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you go ahead and kick back and relax, grab yourself a snack, and let's get into those 5 tips right now. Hey guys, it's Kris. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about how to make the most out of your tax refund check by cash stuffing it. The cash envelope system is a great way to put your money to work for you and achieve your financial goals faster. So let's go ahead and get started with tip number 1, which is determine your financial goals. So you may be asking, Kris, what are some financial goals that I can think about? Well, here's a few examples on what I mean by determining your financial goals. Paying off high interest debt such as credit cards or personal loans, building an emergency fund for unexpected expenses, saving for specific goals such as a down payment for a house or for a car. Maybe you're just starting school, so you need to save up money for tuition and books and things like that. Investing in your retirement. It's never too soon to start investing in your retirement and thinking about the future. And finally, maybe it's just getting money together to start a side hustle. You're going to need money when you start a side hustle, no matter what it is, so you can make sure you have the supplies and tools that you need in order to make it successful. Now, those are just a few examples of financial goals that I've thought about, but remember, everyone's journey is different. So you may have different financial goals that you want to focus on that's different than the examples that I gave, but you get the point. Just remember, this is an important step, so make sure you take some time to think about what you want to do with your financial goals. What do you want to get paid off first? What do you want to contribute to the most? Take your time to write it down. Make sure you put a lot of thought into it, and that will be the starting point on how to start focusing on that tax refund and where you want to allocate that money. Tip number 2, now that you've determined what your financial goals are, now let's prioritize them. So what do I mean by prioritize them? Put them in order of most important or least important, or vice versa, whatever works best for you. Put them in order of importance and how you want to attack your financial goals. For example, you may want to focus on prioritizing paying off your debt first. You may want to look at how much debt do you have out there? How much will it take to start focusing on getting that debt paid off first and attacking each of those credit cards or personal loans one by one? Whether it's the smallest amount to the largest amount, whether it's the high interest accounts versus the low interest accounts, no matter how you prioritize it, just make sure that you're focusing and putting something towards it to start getting it finally paid off. So you may prioritize debt as being first, then next you probably want to focus on starting an emergency fund if you haven't started one already. So when you're starting an emergency fund, you want to think about that amount that will cover you in case an emergency happens. And that can be any amount. You can set a goal for $250, $500, $1,000, whatever works to first help you get started in case an emergency happens, and then you can build from there. If you thought about your financial goals and your number 1 priority goal is to save for a down payment for a house, then you want to start focusing on that. What do you need for the down payment? How much do you need to save a month to get started? How long do you need to save for it? So those are the things that you want to think about once you start prioritizing your goals. Think about what's most important, or think about which one you want to attack first, and then put them in order and start your list from there. Alright you guys, now it's time for tip number 3. Now that you've determined your financial goals, now that you've prioritized them on what you want to focus on, now it's time to start allocating the funds on how you want to spend it. So if you decided that, well, your number 1 priority is, I want to pay off this high interest debt. I want to get this loan paid off. Then you want to look at how much your refund was and how much of that you can pay on that debt to make an impact. If you want to take a large chunk of it and pay it off, go ahead and do that. The sooner the better. I know it's hard to let go of that money, but remember what your end goal is. You're trying to get that debt paid off, and having a tax refund check really helps you to get ahead. Maybe you've decided that saving for an emergency fund is your main priority. So how are you going to utilize that tax refund to get started? Well, let's say, for instance, your tax refund was $5,000, and you know you want to go ahead and put that money away right now for an emergency and get it out of the way. Well, you determine how much of that money you want to put towards an emergency fund. Is $500 enough to cover expenses if something happens? Is that a nice cushion? What about $1,000? That amount is totally up to you, but this is how you allocate where you want to put those different expenses using your tax refund check to give you a nice cushion to get started. And then what the cash envelope system will do for the remaining of the year or forever, how long it takes you to get that fund where you want it to go, you can start allocating more money to go into it every paycheck, every month. But the point is you're using your tax refund check to get you a nice cushion to get started. Or maybe you determine that paying for school is a top priority and you want to get yourself ahead on books and tuition. So you take a chunk of your tax refund and you put it in a cash envelope system to get you ahead for the next couple of semesters. And then you just continue to add and grow onto that envelope so you can always be ahead when it's time to pay for your school fees, tuition, and books. So no matter what you decide when you're allocating that money, remember, you do what's best for your financial goals and your financial situation at that time. The point of using our tax refund check is to give ourselves a little cushion, and that way we can continue to build on top of that and watch it grow. And before we get into tips 4 and 5, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed already, I hope that you're willing to go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well. And I also want to hear from you. If you've gotten your tax refund and you haven't started the cash envelope system, or you're thinking about what you're going to do with your money, what are some of the financial goals that you're going to prioritize this year on how you're going to spend your tax refund money? Comment down below. Now, let's get into tip number 4, and that's implementing a plan and staying on top of it. So now that you've determined your financial goals, you've prioritized them by importance, and you figured out how to allocate or distribute your money across those categories, now we need to implement a plan and stay on track to keep saving for those goals that we set up. So how do we do this? Well, there's a few ways that you can do it. The number one way that most of us do it is by creating a budget. Creating a budget is the most effective way to help you stay on track of those goals you've prioritized as important and to continue to contribute to them and hold yourself accountable for making sure you continue to put money into them even when the tax refund money is gone. Another way to stay on track is automate your savings by doing digital transfers. A lot of people like to do digital budgeting. So if you haven't opened up a high yield interest savings account, my advice would be to do that first, so that way you can keep your money working for you, so the money that you are saving can go into those savings accounts and continue to collect interest. Another way that will help you stay on track is to track your progress. Don't just put the money there and forget about it. Track your progress. Get some tracking sheets. Make sure you're coloring in once you reach a goal. Keep yourself motivated to want to keep saving. It's easy to fall off track once you put a certain amount of money in there, but we have got to keep it moving forward and making that money work for us. And we got to motivate ourselves to stay on top of it so we can make sure that we keep it a priority no matter what. Remember, when you're using this cash envelope system or whatever system you decide, it takes time. It takes time to reach those goals that you want to obtain, and it's not going to happen overnight, but it does take discipline, and it does take us holding ourselves accountable and making sure we're staying focused and making sure we keep our eye on that end goal. And tip number 5 is to make sure you review and adjust your plan on a regular basis. Remember, life happens, and the plan and the goals that you prioritized at the beginning of the year when you received your tax refund may not be the same towards the mid-year or towards the end of the year. So make sure that you're reviewing your plan that you set up, change it, adjust it when needed. Do not create a plan and then feel like life happens and then you can't change it. For example, you decided that, no, I'm going to put $200 into my savings account. Well, then you realize that you stopped getting as much overtime in your job. And you can't put $200 into your savings account. And that's okay. But you have to be in that mindset that it's okay to change it. Adjust it. Maybe you can only put $50 now. Remember, the point is that you are saving and you are staying on top of that goal. So just make sure that you're looking at your budget on a regular basis, making sure you can still reach the goals that you set at the beginning of the year. And also know that it's okay that if you can't, that you can change it up. Some things that you listed as your most important priority may change, and now it may be second. Maybe it's moved down the line. But the point is, you have to be okay with yourself to know that that's okay. You're still working towards your goals and that you do not have to give up and start over. All right, so that's my video on how to cash stuff your tax refund check this year. I hope you found these tips useful. I hope you found an inspiration on how to make that tax refund check work for you and how it can help you obtain your financial goals. So if you're still looking for inspiration and you want to watch some more videos, click on this box right here and watch my cash envelope journey and how I got started to where I am now. I appreciate you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.